can persist on surfaces for days, in air for hours. The following information is based on what is published in globalnews.ca. The highly contagious novel coronavirus that has exploded into a global pandemic can remain viable and infectious in droplets in the air for hours and on surfaces up to days, according to a new study that should offer guidance to help people avoid contracting the respiratory illness called COVID-19. Scientists from the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases (NIAID), part of the U.S. National Institutes of Health, attempted to mimic the virus deposited from an infected person onto everyday surfaces in a household or hospital setting, such as through coughing or touching objects. They used a device to dispense an aerosol that duplicated the microscopic droplets created in a cough or a sneeze. The scientists then investigated how long the virus remained infectious on these surfaces, according to the study that appeared online in the New England Journal of Medicine on Tuesday, a day in which U.S. COVID-19 cases surged past 5,200 and deaths approached 100. The tests showed that when the virus is carried by the droplets released when someone coughs or sneezes, it remains viable, or able to still infect people, in aerosols for at least 3 hours. On plastic and stainless steel, viable virus could be detected after 3 days. On cardboard, the virus was not viable after 24 hours. On copper, it took 4 hours for the virus to become inactivated. In terms of half-life, the research team found that it takes about 66 minutes for half the virus particles to lose function if they are in an aerosol droplet. That means that after another hour and 6 minutes, 3/4 of the virus particles will be essentially inactivated but 25% will still be viable. The amount of viable virus at the end of the third hour will be down to 12.5%, according to the research led by Neeltje van Doormalen of the NIAID's Montana facility at Rocky Mountain Laboratories. On stainless steel, it takes 5 hours 38 minutes for half of the virus particles to become inactive. On plastic, the half-life is 6 hours 49 minutes, researchers found. On cardboard, the half-life was about 3.5 hours, but the researchers said there was a lot of variability in those results, so we advise caution interpreting that number. The shortest survival time was on copper, where half the virus became inactivated within 46 minutes.
I have here I made this one, okay, from where a candy used to be, okay? Garapon ng candy na plastic. Kinat ko, ginawa kong face shield. Anyway, this is funny, but it can be helpful, okay? Now you see, what it looks like. Really funny, okay? But it fits my face, okay? There are 3 ways for you to be infected by this virus, the COVID-19. Through eyes, okay? Through your nose, and through your mouth. And how are you going to be infected, okay? Once the person that is a carrier, which means already infected by the virus, once he is going to cough, sneeze, or even they said by talking. And what is the most effective way to prevent that? Okay, they're so simple. Okay, first, your hands. Okay, you have to wash always your hands with soap or any alcohol. Alright? Washing. And then by preventing, touching your face, touching your eyes, touching your nose, or your mouth. Before you touch your mouth, okay? Because, okay, we cannot prevent in touching our face. So you must have a face shield, the most important one. Simple, all right? I have, I was thinking about how are we going to prevent that we will be infected by this virus. Virus, okay, we cannot see. There are only three ways that you can be infected, okay, to go inside your body, all right? Through your eyes, once you touch, that is already proven, they said through your eyes, through your nose, and through your mouth. And how are you going to be infected? The most important thing, all right? Once somebody that is already a carrier, there are some that is asymptomatic, no symptoms. Okay, they say even through talking, you can be infected. That is really, people don't even take that into consideration. Remember this is your life. You will do everything that you want to be protected. Okay, everybody will die, but you don't want, like a duck cannot even quack. So, right now, this is not a joke. Okay, this virus is not a joke. It's killing a lot of people already, especially here in the United States of America. And you know what? Resources are becoming, everybody is now trying to protect himself. And I hope everybody should be resourceful. You know what? Try to use your imagination. What you have right now, man, there's a lot of things. This is only a simple thing to prevent infection. You know what? Prevent it in going inside your body. The most important thing about this virus, okay? Prevention. Okay, the virus is invisible, okay? But invisible, but you know that it can be transmitted through what? Coughing, sneezing, even talking. So now, you know now the cause, okay? For you to be infected. Common sense, sentido común, okay? Huwag ka bang to be like all-knowing fool. Don't be a fool, okay? Or stupid. You know what? I am ignorant, but I can learn. And you know what? And I got 63 years of experience doing the right way through trial and error, okay? My experience and failure is my best teacher. That's what separates. Anyway, this is boy. My friend, Smiley. I'm just trying to, this is the card that my nephews gave it to me, and it's okay. I'm still okay, okay? Thank you very much, my nephews. Today is April, ano nga ba? 17 nga ba? Okay, the way we are receiving those videos all around the world, this is not really good, okay? People should be aware this is a killer, okay? And I'm really so afraid, especially to my homeless friends here in LA. The situation is really bad, especially the homeless. Okay, I don't know where I'm going to put them. All right, I'm just praying for them. Okay. This is the face shield that I made, and this one will really protect you, and it's good. The car is have aircon and everything over here, so this is my this is where I'm isolating myself. This is the best way. Kumbaga sa kwan you must be practical and you have to think. This is not good. Nangingisay yung mga taong namamatay. Isipin mo, they're so healthy and then suddenly they're going to drop dead, shaking. Hindi biro ito. This is a deadly, exponential ang kanyang multiplication ito. Itong virus na ito. Kaya, nakakatakot ba? Kaya, anyway, sabi nga nila hindi ka mag-ingat. You die like a quack. Like a duck, you cannot even quack. So be careful, people.
The entire LA basin is at risk for a public health crisis. Now, if it ends up being typhus or plague, I don't know what it's going to be, but rodents are a vector, and we are one of the only cities in the country that doesn't have a rodent control plan. Heroin and meth takes people to the street.
You guys have been here for so long. I mean, have you seen it exponentially explode in the last couple of years?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
It's
From last year
worse.
to this year, it's gotten worse.
Oh,
a lot of it is drugs, dope. A lot of it is mental illness.
So you don't feel either category?
Oh, yes, I do. Oh, absolutely.
Which one?
I'm in recovery myself.
Oh, you're recovering. Okay.
It is a FEMA-like, Red Cross-like, and I will say National Guard-like disaster that we're seeing. And it's not just Skid Row. It's throughout LA.
There's no attempt to do anything with sanitation here, right? See all that trash and stuff?
Yeah.
See, look at that sewer. That's all garbage, rats, and feces. It's all going directly into the LA River and right out to the ocean. The sanitation promotes the rat population.
Staying right here, 417 is infested with wood rats and roaches. You got roaches long as my finger in there. Rats this long, this big.
Estimates are that we have around more rats than humans, so around 12 million rats here. And if 2% of the rat population comes up with Yersinia, you will see plague in the human population. We already have typhus exploding. Much like malaria exists in certain areas, typhus exists in certain areas. This is one of those areas. And now, the state of California is about to outlaw rodenticides because of concerns about the mountain lions, which I share. But if we don't do something about this, your children are going to be exposed and die. MRSA is all over the place. Reverend Bales lost his leg because of MRSA.
I got a blister, and the blister turned into a wound, and it was almost healed, but I was out walking the streets of Skid Row giving out water, and I stepped in human waste, and I got E. coli, strep, and staph flesh-eating disease on the streets, and that infection finally caught up with me, and I lost my leg 2 years later. I would lose my other leg if we'd actually solved this urgent situation of homelessness.
Tuberculosis is exploding. Non-tuberculous AFB is exploding. Syphilis is rampant. The airborne diseases, if measles gets into this population, this is not an optimally immunized population. Measles will tear through this population. And we have the rat-borne illnesses, which are vectors. I'm appealing to the federal government. We need to triage this, we need to inventory it, and we need to treat it and manage this like the humanitarian crisis that it is. I don't understand how people can live with this.
So this is the real situation, okay, for the homeless.
Live with this going on in
They're
my city.
thinking about only before typhus or plague, but now, additional, this CORVID virus, that I feel so sorry for these homeless people. And I don't know what this the city is going to do with them. And the situation is really bad. Once everybody is already infected, maybe you will see LA will be like Ecuador. The dead people are just outside, okay? I hope it will not come like that.
Anything less than needing oxygen puts you in this category. Severe cases do need supplemental oxygen, and critical ones are defined by respiratory or multi-organ failure. The symptoms, treatments, and timelines of having the disease vary, depending on which category patients fall into. So let's break down what having COVID-19 looks like day to day for each level of severity. It can take as few as 2 or as many as 14 days after being exposed to the novel coronavirus for the first symptom to develop. This is when it might feel like a cold or the common flu. Many patients develop fevers early on. The World Health Organization China Joint Mission saw that about 88% of people who had COVID-19 had a fever. Another study out of China showed that while only 44% of patients had a fever on admission to a hospital, 89% eventually developed one. But there have been some cases that led with gastrointestinal symptoms. Diarrhea, nausea, vomiting, and/or abdominal discomfort may appear a couple of days before respiratory symptoms. This isn't the norm, though, because COVID-19 is a respiratory disease. That means for most patients, the virus will start and end with the lungs. In the early days of infection, the virus invades lung cells. Specifically, this can damage the cilia, the hair-like projections that move around to keep airways clear of mucus and debris. When cells get infected, they die and shed off, adding to the debris and hindering your body's ability to keep stuff out of the lungs and trachea. The inflammation causes damage, and damage causes more inflammation, and this cycle could continue until there's no healthy tissue left. And inflammation might explain why a dry cough is one of the most common symptoms. Same goes for shortness of breath and phlegm production. Other symptoms that can appear around this time are fatigue, sore throat, headache, joint or muscle pain, chills, and a runny nose. By day 5, patients with pre-existing conditions might find that they have trouble breathing, and it usually takes about 7 days for a person to go to a hospital. Mild cases, though, usually clear up by this time. But those with moderate to critical cases will have developed pneumonia, which can range from non-life-threatening to severe. Recovery time for these patients could be anywhere from a few days to weeks. For some severe and critical cases, though, symptoms can escalate into acute respiratory distress syndrome. ARDS is an illness that happens when fluid builds up in the lungs. Inflammation triggers a flood of immune cells that are meant to target the infection. They're usually isolated to infected areas, but sometimes the body goes overboard, which is when the immune cells start killing anything in their path, including healthy cells. ARDS is often fatal. In critical cases, it can lead to respiratory failure, requiring advanced life support, and this is most likely when patients head to the ICU. ARDS treatment includes supplemental oxygen and mechanical ventilation. The goal is to get more oxygen into the bloodstream, since the lungs can't. When this treatment doesn't work, the lungs are basically too flooded to get any oxygen into your bloodstream. That's the cause of most COVID-19 deaths. And even when a patient survives this phase, they could be left with permanent lung damage. SARS punched holes in some infected people's lungs, giving them a honeycomb effect. And these lesions have been seen in people affected by the novel coronavirus too. Early studies found that most people who die of the disease will do so within 14 to 19 days. And on average, people who recover are released from the hospital after 2.5 weeks. But with the most critical cases, recovery could take months. Once a patient is in the recovery period, it's possible that they could still be contagious. These people should work with their doctors and public health officials to determine when they're no longer a risk. As of now, there is no vaccine for the virus, so the best way to avoid getting sick is to avoid being exposed. COVID-19 spreads easily from person to person through coughing and sneezing, so wash your hands often and avoid close contact with people who are sick, and clean and disinfect surfaces that you use daily. COVID-19 should be taken seriously, but most cases are survivable, so stay home, stay clean, and don't panic.